Everyone. It is June 20th, 2024. I gotta rev my energy up. Trying to that's what I do. I try to rev my energy up before alive. But I didn't get there today, so I'm going to be revving it up as I speak. Hello, analog synth player, Rage Against the Machine, Elisa DeMoss, Denim Blue. Thank you for the great title to the live. Yeah. Like, oh my God, the news. Yeah, the news. And I hope you're doing okay, Denim Blue, and your family is doing okay. Sandra, hello. And thank you for the gift you sent to PayPal. Thank you. I don't check PayPal all the time, so I'm thanking you ahead of time. Del Griff, Christy Hazelwood, hello. And D. Moore, and Justin Wynn. Wow, so, let me try to understand this. Justin Wynn says, I got hired for a job because of people's lies. I show up to the job and it didn't exist. People are sorry sometimes. You got hired for a job that doesn't exist? Filing a complaint with the Better Business Bureau? Well, yeah, but how does this happen? I shouldn't even ask that question because there are so many inexplicable things happening when they should not be happening, and we all know they should not be happening, but they're happening. Okay. Justin, I'm so sorry. And is that right? Did I get that right? Okay. You got hired for the job that you interviewed for or filled out an application for. You show up and the job doesn't exist. That's right. Okay. Blow my mind. Okie dokie. Not good. Donna Davidson, hello. Angelos, hello. And Something to Chew On, Dude, Barb in Ohio, Oracle 11, Steve Ladner, Tom, James B, hello, Amber Eyes, and Shauna Howard, hello, Kim Blanchard, hello, Christopher James. I'm finally on your homepage. Not quite sure what that means, but hey, that's okay. And dude, well, I guess the sky hasn't fallen just yet, hey guys? No, the sky has fallen for millions of people. It just hasn't fallen for you and a lot of others. But the sky has fallen, for sure. Space Indian, hello. Oh, Christy, thank you. Thank you for sending the gift to PayPal. Okay. I will check it either later on tonight or tomorrow. Why are you putting that as a question mark, dude? Oh, really, Carol? Yeah, really. Have you not noticed that the sky has fallen for a lot of people? So when they even had an orientation? You went for orientation. Oh my God. You went for orientation and they told you it didn't exist. If I felt better about myself today, I would definitely, you would be seeing my face and the expression on it. Evening, T. Lamb. Hi. You were only joking around. Well, I'm sorry, dude. I just didn't get that that was a joke. So, Here we are on radar. Look at this. Look at Nebraska. Look at all of these supercell nanobots in Texas. Coming across Louisiana, coming out of the Gulf into Texas, Mexico. This must be Tropical Storm Alberto. We'll get into that in a moment. But don't you like how the air masses are moving in a westerly direction? But up here in Texas, we've got, well, what's going on? Which way are they going? Well, they don't seem, the air masses are moving in different directions, different speeds, and we've got a lot of the nanobot activation. Arizona, woof, look at this. Tucson, Phoenix area, up here northeast, Arizona, into Colorado, into Nebraska, and you see the frequencies on the outskirts of this, on the periphery of the storms, which is generally where they target these so-called weather fronts. Look at the activation here in Iowa, Illinois, nice belt of an extremely low frequency out of Indiana, Ohio, north central Ohio, activation of your supercells, also in Michigan, into Canada, Massachusetts, Vermont, and northeast, the very northeast of New York, Pennsylvania also. All right, look at this. This must be Tropical Storm Alberto. Moving all of this from, or is this the tropical storm in the Atlantic? Geez, I don't know. They haven't named that storm. Are they going to release that storm to finally hit the north of Florida and Georgia, South Carolina? We don't know yet. But yeah. Alrighty. So what do we have? Well, we have a tornado warning in Nebraska, in Rock, Nebraska, 9 miles southeast of Long Pine, 10 miles south of Bassett, and all the other tornado warnings for today have expired. Okay, and how about severe weather alerts? Let me refresh. Okay, they're pretty much the same. A whole lot in, you've got one up here, northeast, or north central, Montana, Nebraska, Ohio, and where is this? Well, we'll find out. I think it's just New York and Boston, Massachusetts, border of New York, Massachusetts. So let's find out what's going on. Severe thunderstorm, Essex, Middlesex, Worcester, Massachusetts. And it is extending from Andover to near Westford to near Londonderry. And another severe thunderstorm in Arthur, Garden, Grant, Hooker, Nebraska, near Ashby to near Lisco. Another one in Nebraska, Holt and Rock, near just south of Newport, southeast of Bassett. Ohio, Crawford, Huron, Richland, Seneca. And that's near Willard to near Chatfield. Massachusetts, the Berkshires, New York, Columbia, that is located near Philmont, 9 miles south of Chatham, Massachusetts, Essex, Middlesex. You got one near Merrimack to near Salem to Draycote, Montana, Blaine, near Fort Belknap, southeast of Chinook, and a whole lot more. So I'm just going to put in the live the link, and you can check it out. So, yeah, hundreds of pilgrims, the pilgrimage to the Mecca, die as Mecca temperatures hit 120 Fahrenheit. So this is the Hajj pilgrimage. Hundreds of people have died. Thousands have been treated for heat stroke while performing the annual Muslim Hajj. I think that's how you pronounce it. Hajj pilgrimage to Mecca. Oh, this heat all over the world. Extreme heat kills hundreds, millions more sweltering worldwide as summer begins. Watch that extreme heat. Be very, very careful, because it's causing an awful lot of death and sickness and flooding and fires, and the world is just, well, can't say the sky is falling. Let's just say that flames are trying to reach up to touch the sky. Oh, someone got hurt. Apologize. I apologize for hurting you. I guess it was dude.
Tropical storm Alberto is moving through Mexico right now, with at least 3 people dead in eastern Mexico. Here in the U.S., some parts of Texas were left underwater by storm surge. CBS's Dave Malkoff is along the coast in hard-hit Corpus Christi with the very latest.
Flooding from Tropical Storm Alberto submerged cities along the Texas coast before it even made landfall in northeast Mexico early this morning.
We didn't think it'd get up this far, but they said Jamaica Beach was one of the worst, I guess.
In Surfside Beach, 4 inches of heavy rainfall and storm surge up to 4 feet high flooded homes, making them look like they were in the middle of a lake and leaving abandoned cars underwater. The water rose so high, police in Surfside Beach were cruising through the streets in rafts, rescuing people from stranded cars. All of those outer bands are reaching here and causing a real threat of storm surge. It's not just this one street, but many, all throughout Corpus Christi and Galveston. In downtown Galveston, a day off work to celebrate the Juneteenth holiday was rained out for most, making roads impassable. While people in many areas in the storm's path fled to higher ground, not everyone could. We found
Day, June 20th, 2024, Tropical Storm Alberto, the first named storm of the season,
I'm sorry, I didn't have my mic on. All I was saying was there was that light, right, in the Zoom Earth satellite, which is at the heating up of the oceans. This is a glitch that I don't understand. I've never seen anything like this on Zoom Earth. This is the same cloud mass that I showed several evenings ago, and they just pushed it westwardly, which now it has pretty much taken over 98% of Mexico. They can lift the moisture from the Gulf, install it in a manufactured cloud, move that cloud with the electromagnetic frequencies, release the moisture in the cloud wherever they want it to flood. And it's unfortunate that people just don't have much interest in checking out that we are at war. They are using weather as a weapon.
Continues its relentless march inland over Mexico. As we speak, communities are grappling with its devastating impact while simultaneously clinging to the hope of much-needed rainfall. Tropical storm Alberto has claimed at least 3 lives as it moves inland over Mexico. The storm's heavy rains have brought both tragedy and potential relief to a region long suffering under severe drought conditions. As of 8 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time, Alberto was moving westward at approximately 13 miles per hour. The storm's sustained maximum winds have decreased to 45 miles per hour, down from earlier reports. The National Hurricane Center in Miami expects Alberto to weaken rapidly as it moves over land, likely dissipating later today or tonight. The storm's impact is being felt on both sides of the U.S.-Mexico border. Rain from Alberto is falling along much of the South Texas coast and extending south to Mexico's Veracruz state. While rainfall and gusty winds are starting to subside along the Texas coast, northeastern Mexico is forecast to continue experiencing these conditions through the morning. In southern Texas, rainfall is expected to diminish throughout the day, with most areas receiving an inch or less. However, the National Hurricane Center warns that there's still a possibility of a tornado or two across parts of deep South Texas.
Of course, another tornado. Look at this. Just what Texas needs. Right? Right. All right, well, the fires. So, New Mexico. This is what high school students went through.
Ruidoso High School earlier this week shows the panicked moments from students as they watch the flames and the smoke move toward them.
And while they're off school because of the fire, they're using their time to help others. News 13's Gabe Chavez is live in Ruidoso with their story.
Dean and Jessica, these kids were in class on Tuesday when the flames broke out. They say that seeing the smoke and the flames approaching their school was the scariest day of their lives. When the McBride fire broke out Tuesday afternoon, one of the first priorities, evacuate the schools, where the flames were literally at the doorstep.
Honestly, it was very traumatizing because we have siblings at the school across the street.
Some had no idea just how serious the situation was.
It was unexpected. We knew there was a fire, but we didn't know it was that bad.
More than 1,700 students were safely evacuated, many leaving their cars and other items behind. They say it was chaos.
We all had to combine together, and once we got to where we needed to be, it was very scary because everyone went everywhere, and then it was hard to find parents.
Many of them in shock when they finally got to safety.
I found out that one of my friends' houses burned down, and a few other kids ended up without homes at the time, and it was just very frightening to know that all happened in a span of 2 hours.
While school is canceled so crews can try and get a handle on the fire, these students knew they couldn't just sit around. They wanted to help. They're teaming up with their church to distribute food, water, clothes, and other necessities to people in the community who have lost everything. They're hopeful their small act of kindness will make a huge impact on their community in crisis.
To help the community is really great. We have friends and family, so we know people that have had their house burned down and what they're going through, and just to help them out feels pretty nice.
The superintendent of Ruidoso Schools says they anticipate on reopening the schools on April 19th, but that could change depending on what happens with the fire. Back to
Well, good on those high school students. And as far as I'm concerned, and I have spoken to this throughout a whole lot of my time here, that people in their community should be organizing with other people. Should you have a disaster in your area, that you have the telephone numbers of your neighbors, of your community members, so that you can quickly organize to help one another. Yeah. You don't have to have a church to do that. But good on them. Racehorses. You know, when you think about these fires, think about everything that everybody is going through, right? You've got your pets, and you got to evacuate now. I hope you're all prepared to do that. What about livestock? What about horses? What about an awful lot? You know, what about the elderly? What about the disabled? You know, that's why everybody should have organized something in their community so that you can rely on one another.
Dozens of racehorses stabled in and around Rio Desa Downs have been moved away from that area, and many of them are on the way to San Angelo for stabling. Lip Chip owner Brad Boland has stayed in constant touch with his employees and friends in Rio Desa since Monday night and is now coordinating places for temporary living conditions for workers and racehorses. He says many people have helped trailer the horses to Roswell, Carlsbad, and San Angelo, and have also donated funds and time to get needed supplies to people who lost their homes in Rio Desa.
All of a sudden, we just had people coming from everywhere, every walk of life, picking up horses, taking horses. And so basically yesterday, it was basically I imagine yesterday there was close to 1,500 horses evacuated out of Rio Desa Downs.
Boland also says Rio Desa Downs is closed indefinitely because of the fire danger.
Jeff Snyder, too, what are you talking about? Are you still refusing to say plasma fire and allowing whatever grudge hardened your heart to be your greatest priority? Wow. Okay, are you talking to me? You talking to me? When I just mentioned plasma fires last night, mentioning you, Jeff Snyder too, and watching your videos and what I learned, are you talking to me? Because this is coming out of left field, Jeff, and I don't appreciate it. I have no clue what the hell you're talking about. What grudge? I have no grudge. Jesus. People are fucking crazy. Yeah, mudslides and flooding now in the same area as this South Fork fire.
Flash flood warnings have been issued for the Rio Doso area due to runoff from the burn scars caused by these wildfires, forcing even more evacuations. Tonight, the governor confirming there were 3 water rescues because of flooding. Our crew spotted this RV park flooded, and deep water, as you see here near the road. Carrizozo Canyon was evacuated due to the flash flooding, and there were also reports of flooding in the Bonito Lake area.
It's just, it's part of where we live. It's part of a changing climate, and we live in the mountains. We know that
it's part of a changing climate. Don't you love it? I don't love it. Wow. Man. You know, listening to people on mainstream media, listening to all of the liars, and then reading some comments, you're like, you just feel like, oh my God, let me get out of the sludge here. How do I get out of the sludge? The changing climate. So now, flooding in the same area as the fires. They're still not out of fire danger. They had a hailstorm and mudslides. Okay, Taylor Noose. Hey, doesn't this look like a huge block of plastic? So look at the car, okay? Look at the melted out windows, the fire, the destruction. But this is hardly even dirty, this white block here. And it does look like it's plastic. So, yeah. That's not going to go up because plastic doesn't conduct electromagnetic frequencies as metal does. And by the way, I do want to say that these fires, we don't know. There's many methods that they have, and while some people may know and may be very definitive about the cause, I'm not. I do know that these are being set deliberately. We know that smart meters can do this. We know that directed energy weapons can do this. We also know that they could do, they could use not just one particular method, but several methods. Hell, they can use nanobots. So, yeah, I don't think I'm going to get a response from Jeff. So, I don't know where that was left field. Boing. Look at this hailstorm. Las Vegas, New Mexico. There's a Las Vegas, New Mexico. It's not just New Mexico. So, wild, wacky weather, right? Can't play this. This is Live Storms Media. But the hailstorm, the flooding, the mudslides, the fires, bring it on. Bring it on. Multiple structures destroyed in fire in North Sacramento.
Live look at a firefight going on in North Sacramento. They're trying to fight this thing from the air and the ground. Our photographer, Daniel Ariano, live on the scene showing us this image right here that started as a grass fire a couple of hours ago and quickly spread. This is a part of North Sacramento that is mixed industrial and residential. There you see the heavy smoke and the flames in the distance. We understand from Daniel on the ground that there have been some structures lost in this. We don't know if they were outbuildings or actually physical homes, but we do know also some potential cars have gone up in flames as well. First and foremost, they want to keep everyone safe. They've been doing airdrops on this fire for at least the last hour. A helicopter up there. I've been monitoring some scanner traffic as well as they try and get more firepower on this thing. We're going to bring up Nick's mic right now because I'm curious about the winds and the weather right now. And
in about 10 to 15 miles per hour. So
you either have wildfires or you have fires where they have no idea what the cause is, but just things are going up in flames. Hey, Mama Rages. And, oh, France. Yes, France now. Roof shattered, cars, windows busted out, hailstorms, got these huge hailstorms all over the world. And some of the hell is pretty friggin' big.
As the roads are slippery.
Okay, so there was also a fire. Where is it? Okay, second massive fire in Chicago. The fire that I included in the live stream last night was a pallet. It was a pallet factory. And that was a huge fire. And now they have another massive fire that breaks out on Chicago's west side. How is this happening?
Breaking news topping the 10 tonight. A second huge fire on the west side in just 24 hours. Check out this CBS 2 drone video of the industrial building sending a huge black plume of smoke into the sky. Our Jermont Terry is live in Humboldt Park for us tonight. Here we go again, Jermont.
Yeah, you're right, Joe. 90-degree heat and Chicago fire is back on the scene of another huge fire requiring some 200 firefighters to respond, and they are still here in this 10 o'clock hour. Let's get you right to the video that everyone is talking about. Check out this view from Chopper 2 just after 6 o'clock today. The plume of smoke combined with that orange glow of fire burned for several hours, and it could be seen from blocks away. CFD tells us there were several businesses in this section of Grand and Chicago. They include an auto body shop, a battery business, and some other office spaces. It's not clear where the fire started, but it quickly grew. And because of the magnitude of this blaze combined with those hot weather temperatures, CFD brought in extra crews to help relieve the men and women putting in the work. Several ladder companies doused water from various angles. The wind sent.
And look at this. Look at the sky. I mean, it almost looks like a bad painting. Wow. So, a massive structure fire. Oh, a meat processing facility? A meat processing facility in Vermont. Champlain. Whitehall, New York. Right on the border of New York and Vermont. A meat processing plant in upstate New York was devastated by a massive structure fire over the weekend. And I just came across this. I haven't seen anyone. It seems as if the food processing facilities that are going up in flames, I think they're going to, kind of ditch it. They don't want to bring much attention to it. That's my hunch. Traffic diverted between Vermont and New York after fire at meat processing facility. Champlain beef. Oh, and listen to this. Texas, US of A. We have over 1 million acres of farmland that has been burned and ruined. And not only that, we have Texas Forest Service that is going into these ranchers' properties and dosing up the land. They're not even, or dozing, bulldozing up the land. They're not even dozing the burned areas. They're ruining the remaining feed and grasses that they do have.
So I wanted to update y'all on what's going on in Texas. We have over 1 million acres of farmland that has been burned and ruined. And not only that, we have Texas Forest Service that is going into these ranchers' properties and dozing up the land. They're not even dozing the burned areas. They're ruining the remaining feed and grasses that they do have. And we don't know why they're doing this. So let me know what y'all think about this in the comments. Make sure to share this around. We need to stand up for what's right. And remember, guys, buy American and buy local.
It's gotten to the point where so many have already been destroyed. And if people haven't stood up in their communities, as it is for, just watching all of the destruction but haven't done anything, they're not going to do anything. They won't do anything. And if you care to know how much destruction comes about by the military, the link is in the chat to this 30-minute video here, which is militaries are fueling the climate crisis. Yeah. Well, let's just listen to a few minutes.
Right now, a quarter of the world's population, 2 billion people, are living in countries at war. In fact, according to the United Nations, 2023 saw the highest number of active violent conflicts since World War II. And according to those tracking military emissions, if armies across the globe were a country, they'd be the 4th largest emitter of carbon on Earth. The impact of war, however, is so much more than just emissions from tanks, ships, and warplanes. Modern warfare has a devastating effect on people and the planet. So what is the scale of destruction wrought by militaries? And in an age where nations justify war on the basis of supposed security benefits, isn't the harm to the Earth not also a huge threat to our collective security?
Yes, of course. But no one will ever look that way, point a finger at militaries all over the world. Yeah. No one. It's as if they're angels. They bring such goodness to the world. Right? Yeah. And this is interesting. On I-880, a meat spill? Not a shock? Well, it was a shock to me.
Also tonight, remember this bizarre mess on 880 in Oakland a couple of weeks ago? Animal parts. Those are animal parts, meat, all across the freeway. Senior investigative reporter Bagat Shaban has been digging into the company that caused that traffic jam and found that company has a history of leaving behind similar spills. A warning for you right now. Some of the video you're about to see is disturbing. Bagat.
Well, when it comes to that grisly gridlock, it turns out while the meat was rare, the mess was not. We've learned the company responsible has been repeatedly blamed for other gory accidents.
If you want to watch, this is a 4-minute. That's a long mainstream media broadcast of news. Yeah. In rows. Okay. You see? Are you putting it together? Meat and food shortage, everything shortage, bird flu, the culling of so many chickens. Well, that was for fertilizer or whatever, but yeah, we are going down. I sense it every single day. Things are not good. Toddler trapped inside Tesla after car battery dies. How many people? The number just keeps going up. Of people being locked in their Teslas.
All right, coming up on 5:30, we're following up tonight on an On Your Side report about a woman who got trapped inside her Tesla after the car's battery died.
Dangerous in the heat, and she says it could have been much worse.
I had taken my granddaughter to the zoo, and it really struck me that I was actually kind of lucky because I had put my granddaughter in her car seat, shut the door, and I immediately thought to myself, wow, what if this had happened when I just put my granddaughter in the car?
Well, you know what? That is exactly what happened to a Scottsdale woman with her Model Y Tesla. On Your Side's Gary Harper is here with her story.
Yeah, like we just said, we spoke to that viewer yesterday regarding her. She was locked inside her car. It was a bad situation for her. She was finally able to get out. Today, we talked to another viewer. She was stuck on the outside of her Tesla, but her 20-month-old granddaughter was trapped inside. Not a very good situation. Now, when this viewer couldn't open the door with the handle or the app on her phone to get the toddler out, she was forced to call 911, and then first responders had to use an axe.
going to take my granddaughter to the zoo.
Renee Sanchez says she's a big fan of Tesla, but what happened to her recently has changed her mind. That's because Renee tells On Your Side she loaded her 20-month-old granddaughter into her car seat for a trip to the zoo.
And I closed the door, went around the car, get in the front seat, and my car was dead. I could not get in. My phone key wouldn't open it. My card key wouldn't open it.
As On Your Side explained in a recent On Your Side report, when the Tesla battery that operates electronics dies, there's a hidden latch on the driver's side armrest that will unlock the door manually. It's a latch many Tesla owners don't know about. But in this case, Renee was stuck outside of her Tesla while the toddler was trapped inside, buckled into a car seat. Renee tells On Your Side she had no option but to call 911, which immediately dispatched Scottsdale firefighters.
And when they got here, the first thing they said to me is, to Tesla, we can't get in these cars. And I said, I don't care if you have to cut my car in half. Just get her out.
Firefighters were forced to break a window with an axe, but they first covered the window with tape to keep glass from falling inside. Meanwhile, Renee's granddaughter sat alone inside the Tesla that was getting hotter and hotter.
So she was okay for the first few minutes, but as soon as the firemen came and all the commotion started and the windows getting broken into, she started crying because she was scared.
A firefighter was able to climb through the window and pull the toddler to safety. They even gave her a little fire hat to calm her.
After I knew she was safe, then the anger, and then all the thoughts of, oh my God, this could have been so much worse.
The 12-volt battery that powers the electronics had died with no warning. Tesla drivers are supposed to get 3 warnings before that happens, but the Tesla service department confirmed to Renee that she didn't get any warnings at all.
That's the thing. When that battery goes, you're dead in the water.
On Your Side has learned there is a way for drivers to unlock their cars when they're stuck outside, but it's a complicated series of time-consuming steps involving wires and battery chargers. But again, many Tesla owners and first responders don't even know about it.
They need to educate the first responders because they had no idea. None. They were as much in the dark as I was.
Renee wants to see Tesla add a better option to get into a car with a dead battery. And while she's been a big supporter of Tesla, this latest episode has shaken her trust.
So I give Tesla props. When it works, it's great. But when it doesn't, it can be deadly.
Wow. Well, a lot of people are turning their back on the green energy vehicles, electric and Tesla. In fact, this on the same day. Arizona woman trapped in Tesla after battery dies.
Coming up on 5:30, a warning tonight for Tesla owners or anyone considering buying one of the electric cars.
A Valley woman says she got trapped inside her Tesla and couldn't get out. Gary Harper's here, and she is not the only one this has happened to.
Yeah, just think about this. You get inside of your Tesla, if you have one, the windows are up, the doors are locked, you can't start the car, and then you realize you can't even get out of your car. You are trapped inside. Not to mention, we have this heat warning going on right now. What do? That's exactly what happened to this viewer. Luckily, she did not panic. She kept a cool head, but apparently this can happen to a lot of people who drive a Tesla.
Okay, so this is a Tesla Model Y 2021 model.
Diane has owned her Model Y Tesla for about 3 years with no serious complaints.
Pretty happy. It's a fun car to drive.
But that changed last month when she tried to go for a drive.
So it was fully charged. I went, unplugged the car, went to get in my car, shut the door, and everything just shut down. I couldn't open windows. I couldn't unlock the doors. I was completely just trapped.
Yep, you heard right. Diana was stuck inside of her own car. She went to check the owner's manual to try to figure out what was going on, but that was impossible because the glove box wouldn't open either.
I called a friend of mine in the neighborhood. I said, can you please come over right away? I'm trapped in the car. He came over. He couldn't figure it out. He says, no way to open the car from the outside.
Diane got on the Tesla app and requested emergency roadside assistance, and eventually they let her know through a text message that there's a secret latch to open the door. Once she located it, Diane was finally able to get out of her Tesla.
It's scary.
Okay. Can you imagine being trapped in the car in this heat? You can't put the windows down. You can't open the doors. You can't start the car. You're trapped. But there's a secret release. But they don't inform the drivers that buy the cars. So they obviously knew that this could happen. They install, a latch where they can open the door, but they don't inform anybody about it. That seems a little bizarre to me. Woman lives in unfinished home after paying $140,000. People are, let's just say, Americans on the whole, which means I don't know if you are included in that category. I don't know you. Your word means nothing. Means nothing.
Will not return an Oklahoma City woman's calls, so she called News 4.
Tonight she's out $140,000. Dylan Brown is looking out for her.
From the outside, it's a beautiful home. But behind these doors, and really all around these doors, it's a job not finished. And the woman who paid for this job says she's had enough.
So this is how I'm living.
Teresa Forster has lived at her home near Northwest 16th and Penn for years. Last year, though, she wanted a remodel. She called Claudio Ocasio of Always Reliable Contracting, LLC. Here's his business card. She said she paid $140,000, but after time, they weren't so reliable.
Just call me, for crying out loud.
Yeah.
Nope.
While she sits on retirement, her home sits unfinished.
It's the small things that add up, though.
Well, yeah, for $140,000.
At first, it's small things, like these gaps. Then, there's this, and this. But then, you see the side of the house missing. Heck, even the pipes aren't finished yet.
The bathroom, which is minor that he taped it up, but still. I would think that this should be flush.
But you go inside.
I have no lighting in here, so I can't have a sink if I don't have a countertop. The closet's not finished, so I can't hang up clothes. That's my shower I built.
That's just the start. Meanwhile, the contractor, his business license expired in March. Its last address was downtown OKC. It wasn't there. The phone number on his business card?
This line has been placed out of service. Your communication cannot be processed.
However, records show he took a job as a police officer an hour and a half away in Mounds, Oklahoma. Still hasn't gotten back to Teresa. In the meantime, she's left frustrated and emotional.
I have to get like this. I have to get upset. I have to push, and I'm not that kind of person.
In Oklahoma City, Dylan Brown, Oklahoma's News 4.
Wow. $140,000, and the guy just decides to become a police officer, doesn't return her calls. That is so typical now. It truly is typical. This is the behavior of a whole lot of people out there. Toxins from Ohio train derailment spread to 16 states.
Most people don't realize how big this fire was and how far the impacts went.
Yeah, we are certainly learning more every day. New details in the East Palestine train derailment. We're now learning the toxic chemicals that were burned off following the crash have reached a total of 16 states. Yes, 16 states. This is according to a new study. News Nation's chief investigative reporter, Rich McHugh, spoke with one of the scientists behind the study. Rich, were you surprised when you learned just how far-reaching the impacts were?
You know, to be honest, Elizabeth, not really. Those of us that have been reporting on this since the start, we all suspected that this would be the case if the data were ever collected. We had no idea that this data even existed. So 3 days after officials in East Palestine decided to burn 116,000 gallons of vinyl chloride with the EPA's blessing, The smoke billowed over the region. You can see from the video what looks like a mushroom cloud of these toxins billowing into the atmosphere. Within minutes, it smothered the entire region, turning the daytime sky dark. Now, for the first time, we have data that shows just how far these toxins spread. Check this out. 16 states from Wisconsin to North Carolina and out to Maine were affected. David Gay with the National Atmospheric Deposition Program says the program has about 260 sites across the U.S. collecting rain and snow samples, and says they detected some of the highest levels recorded of chloride. They were detected the week after the burn. Take a look.
These were some of the highest, if not the highest, we had seen in the last 12 years. That fire touched a lot of points in the Midwest and the Northeast. We're all breathing the same atmosphere. That's a take-home story.
Yeah, we're all breathing the same atmosphere. And some get double whammies, triple whammies, quadruple whammies. But we're all breathing the toxins in our atmosphere. Biggest threat to U.S. is biosecurity. Former CDC director who came out and said it's not if, but it's when we will have a bird flu pandemic.
Bird flu is spreading in the U.S. On top of 3 farm workers contracting the virus, more and more cattle continue to get sick. According to the USDA, 101 herds across 12 states have tested positive. And this might not be the whole picture. Farm testing for bird flu has covered just a small fraction of the 9 million dairy cattle across the United States. The concern is if this bird flu continues to spread among mammals, it could eventually mutate and spread from human to human and possibly becoming the next pandemic, words that you probably don't want to hear. Our country's top doctor, former CDC director, Dr. Robert Redfield, says it's not if a bird flu pandemic will happen, but when it will happen, and he joins me now. Doctor, thank you so much for joining us. You know, I'm scared of my own shadow, so I'll start with that. But I do have a basic understanding, and viruses want to survive. They want to mutate. They want to get stronger. Isn't that what it's doing right now?
Yeah, right now, I think since 2019, we've had a progressive epidemic of bird flu in birds, initially chickens and turkeys. It's hard to imagine, but so far there's over 100 million turkeys and chickens infected in the United States. Now that has extended, unfortunately, over the last 5 years, and now we have over 25 different mammal species in the U.S. that are also infected, and most recently, as you mentioned, cattle. And this is problematic because what happens for bird flu is it will stay away from being a human pathogen in a pandemic as long as it doesn't learn how to bind the human receptor. But when it goes into these other mammals, it starts changing and, as you pointed out, mutating. And it's just really a matter of chance when it may mutate to the point that it can now bind to the human receptor. But as you point out, with all these different animals that it's in, dolphins and seals and polar bears, it's learning how to get into new mammals. And
okay, whether or not this is actually true, what he's saying, or if it's just that horseshit that they love, the propaganda horseshit that they love to discharge, spew to the American people, doesn't matter. It's the narrative, they're going with it. Gain of function. A whole lot have been coming out and saying this is a gain of function. Mutation of the bird flu, making it more fatal. Man's hand doing it, right? So, let's listen to CEO of Pfizer.
I truly think the best days of Pfizer are ahead of us. Because COVID was, for me, like a rehearsal, a prova generale, how you can mobilize an organization and do the impossible possible against a main disease. We are after cancer and many other things in the years to come.
Did you get it? Did you hear it? Let's read it. I truly think the best days of Pfizer are ahead of us because COVID was for me like a rehearsal. Prove generality. How can you mobilize, how can you mobilize an organization and do the impossible possible against a main disease? We are after cancer and many other things in the years to come. In fact, we're even creating cancer with those fabulous new products. And we have more new products coming for the bird flu. I truly think the best days of Pfizer are ahead of us. Just going to play a few minutes of this.
Let me tell you, our first story tonight is one that should be on the front cover of every single news outlet in the world. The COVID injections have been hit by a new bombshell, with the top law professor labeling them as weapons of mass destruction. Dr. Francis Boyle, a Harvard-trained professor and the architect of the 1989 Biological Weapons Anti-Terrorism Act, which was unanimously approved by both House of the U.S. Congress and signed into law by President Bush, has issued an affidavit declaring COVID-19 mRNA injections as biological weapons and weapons of mass destruction.
Oh, that's a danger that I just put on YouTube. I will say that that's all misinformation. It's all misinformation. Don't believe it. But the link is in the chat. Humans must adopt new way of life to defeat AI's sinister advantage that helps it manipulate us. Have any of you gone on these chat bot things? These I haven't. I have no interest talking to chat bots. Humans will need to change their behaviors to avoid falling victim to deceptive chat bots. A cyber expert has told the U.S. Sun. Okay, so a lot of the UK publications and news outlets have come to the United States and they have offices here. We are going global. Okay, cyber expert told this news outlet how you must avoid putting too much trust in artificial intelligence. Yeah? If you can't trust your fellow human, are you going to trust a bot? I think a lot of people will. Artificial intelligence chatbots are now increasingly popular, with tens of millions of people flocking to apps like OpenAI, ChatGPT, Google, Gemini. Chatbots use large language models that allow them to speak to you just like a human. In fact, a study recently claimed that OpenAI's GPT-4 model had passed the Turing test, meaning humans couldn't reliably tell it apart from a real person. The human-like way chatbots talk makes them much more capable of deceiving us. It feels as though it would be easier to be drawn in by the conversational nature of a chatbot versus perhaps a deceptive website or search result. Wow, man. As humans, we build trust. Yes, trust is built. Where we potentially see a relationship, then you build the trust. And you build on it. And then you have a healthy relationship. Well, I guess people are going to the chatbots to have that healthy relationship. And it's a lot easier and understandable to be able to build a relationship with a chatbot compared to a website. I don't like this world. I don't like this world. A subscriber sent me this video, and I am going to play. It's a 1-hour interview with Sarah Westall. Whatever you think of Mike Adams, that's not the point, okay? The point is, the interviewer, Sarah Westall, has a lot of very good information to pass on to all of us. I will post the link. Yeah, no smooth streaming tonight, I guess. Sorry. I hate this hotspot that I have to work off of. So here we go.
I believe the first time that we've ever done an interview like this, it's Sarah Westall, and her website is Sarah.
And I want to thank the subscriber who sent this along to me, because I listened to an awful lot of it. A very good video, a lot of good information.
Westall.com, and she has a new investigative docu-series about fifth-generation warfare mind control technologies that she's going to be introducing to us today. But welcome to the show, Sarah Westall. It's great to have you on.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure. I've been excited to talk about this.
Oh, well, where do we even begin? I mean, there's so many rabbit trails to go down with this, but let's start with this. So how did you even get into mind control and fifth generation warfare, kind of mixed in with a little bit of your background? What led you to this?
Well, yeah, there's a lot to this.
Yeah.
But what got me to this? But my background, I think you might know, I'm a computer scientist. I worked in big tech. I actually worked in high-speed networking. I worked at US West in the enterprise division, which was the high-speed networking of the internet back in the early 90s. We had 75% of the frame relay market, which was the backbone of the internet when we were building it out. Now, I kept getting promoted, so I was the director of systems and development that ran that division. I actually learned a little bit more before I got promoted, even when we were doing modeling out the whole internet from a data perspective. And I really learned a lot. I had the head of the computer science department at the University of Minnesota come in and work with us, which was kind of a weird thing back then. And we had just phenomenal people working on this, but we weren't, when we look back at this, internet was started by DARPA. We didn't know any of that. We thought we were creating, and I still believe this, that we were creating a potential to create freedom for the world, to connect everybody. And it really was that, as you remember, the first 10, 15 years, the internet started taking off, the amount of learning, and it was just an amazing environment. So we really thought we were doing such a great thing for humanity. And it could still be, but I never realized the opposite side of that and the control mechanisms that's put into place based on this monster that we created, which is still can be something fantastic as well. So that's my background. And then how did I decide to talk about mind control and fifth generation warfare? Okay, well, that with my background being that, and then I'm an entrepreneur, I did all these things. And I taught at the University of Minnesota at the business school for 5 years, and I learned, I just have a different background. And then I got into podcasting and doing what you do. We've been doing this. I've been doing this for 12 years now, and I got into more the edge of business, the change of business. The edge of change is what I was going to do, right? And so I started learning about all these things at the edge of change, about free energy and cancer and all these things that could change society into amazing, and they're all being shut down. People are being killed. Yeah. I mean, what's going on, right? And then I met James Rothstein, Detective Rothstein, who was, he took down more pedophile networks in the CIA and across the world than anyone. And I did a 6-part series with him. And that's where I termed the coin, blackmail is the currency of the powerful. And I was invited to put this interview, the first of 6, in this book called Q, The Great Awakening. I had no idea what Q was. And that book, and it was all on human trafficking and blackmail. And that book was #1 in 17 categories on Amazon before they took it down.
Wow.
And yeah, it was amazing. And then since then, and that was before blackmail was even in the human consciousness in our country. Now it is.
Before the Epstein, the whole Epstein scenario, yeah.
Yeah, I was at his house the day that he supposedly committed suicide. I was at Rothstein's house, and Rothstein told me, he goes, "Sarah, that's the tip of the iceberg." He's like, Epstein is just one little sliver of what's really going on. And that's what he told me directly. But since then, as we all know, it's part of our consciousness, right? There's so many things I've done since then. And I started covering directed energy weapons before this as well. I started covering targeted individuals. I started learning about all these things. And the directed energy weapons was for, really got into frequency and understanding that. With my background, it made sense, right?
Yeah.
And I started learning about all these things. And then COVID happened. And I said, wait a minute, I'm sick of being jacked around on all these psyops, and I want to understand what's really going on, because so much of this industry is people being jacked around on psyops by somebody else, right? And I know you know that.
Absolutely.
And so we're just being boomeranged, and COVID was that. And so right at the beginning of COVID, I created this little mini documentary on mind control. And then I was speaking with Fetzer at his False Flags conferences. I've done 3 of them now, I think, on mind control, and 5th generation warfare is what I added in at the end, because I realized this really is what it is, 5th generation warfare. And so I've been working on this for a long time, and it's inherently in my background to zoom out and understand the big picture. I'm like, I'm tired of being boomeranged. What the heck is going on here? And once you start diving in, it's a whole nother story of what's going on.
I love the fact that you have a tech background. We kind of share that background. My background was in software development with email technology. And I remember the days you were talking about when it was amazing to get a 256K ISDN line installed,
Yeah,
I thought that was awesome. Or a T1 line. Whoa, we'll never use that much bandwidth. But the entire infrastructure of the internet has been weaponized against the people. But so has the infrastructure of medicine, which is what vaccines and nanotech are all about. But the infrastructure of broadcast television and the corporate media has been weaponized as a psyop against the people. Is there any area of technology that you can think of that hasn't been exploited as a weapon system against the masses?
Excel spreadsheets. I don't know. That could be too.
Well, that was weaponized against Trump, I think. Put a number in the wrong column and suddenly you're a felon.
I know. See, that's the point, is that technology is not inherently evil or good. It's whatever you use it for. It's very powerful. The Stasi would be drooling over the tools that we have now.
Right.
The control structure, where it gets even worse is when, the Myers-Briggs, where they could tell what your personality is, and it's scary accurate on who you are. Now it's scary accurate as to who you are, although it still wasn't totally accurate. Now they have thousands and thousands of data points where they can really get accurate. They know you better than you know yourself, and then they can feed you back ways to manipulate you. And they're doing it.
Yeah.
I mean, Google's stated objective is to change society based on their values. That's what they're saying now. They used to say they don't want to be evil. They dropped that and said, now we want to change society based on our values. Who the heck is you? Who are you, and what are your values? Right? And we're the victims of that. We've been seeing that. We've been shut down everywhere, but it's broader than just the internet.
Yes.
Once you really dig into this, right? Like you said, it's the medical field. It's not just social media and the internet, but it's also big media. It's government. It's business. There's a little clip that I have in the series that's coming up that's going to air on Bright U with Dr. Giordano. He's one of the top neuroscientists in the world. He works with DARPA in the military. And there's a clip I have of him speaking at West Point. And he talks about the size of the mind control, actually doing, changing our brains or manipulating our brains directly. And he said back 40 years ago, there was 4 university programs. Now there's well over 200, not counting different institutions, not counting other countries. The funding is coming from literally everywhere, all over the government, private institutions. It's a massive field that people don't realize even exists. I even had a friend the other day. I was telling her, I never talked to her about this stuff. And I told her about how I'm doing this thing and how big this is. She goes, oh my God. She goes, my son is at, I don't want to disclose who they are, but he's in graduate school in some engineering department. And he saw the private lab, and he was telling her all about the stuff they can do for mind control, but it's top secret and you can't talk about it.
Yeah. And the corporate media pretends that none of this exists. So this is the gaslighting, which is part of the PSYOP, right? Part of fifth generation warfare. In fact, I want to ask you to speak to that and what your docuseries covers. But I know a big part of it is the gaslighting, to say that as they're killing you, they convince you they're not killing you. That, oh, that's a conspiracy theory, they say. Or as they're running PSYOPs, one of the biggest PSYOPs is to say there is no PSYOP. And then it goes through phases. So they do something horrible to America, like let's say open borders invasion. They deny it's happening for as long as they can. And then when it's no longer undeniable, then they say, well, it's no big deal. Yes, it's happening, but it's fine. And then a couple years later, the news stories change and say, well, everybody knew that was happening, right? So that's usually how it goes.
I know, and that's what we're watching happen with COVID. We're watching that whole thing unfold. And will they go down for crimes against humanity, which they need to? I don't know, but they're in the middle of, they've been gaslighting it forever. I just met somebody the other day that had their 6th booster, and they're complaining that the boosters didn't, or the shots didn't work, and now they have a headache all the time. I'm like, oh,
well, more boosters. Take more boosters. That's the answer, obviously.
Stop taking the boosters. I couldn't believe it. But, just recently they were still airing commercials in my area on this. They just are denying it, ignoring it. Part of the PSYOP is to keep acting like it's still okay.
Yeah.
And now it's so bad that they're having to address this a little bit. But the problem for us who are in this industry, and we see it, for me, it was a slow moving train wreck as it was happening. Yeah. And it's like, please don't take, I told my daughter, I'm not going to pay for her college if she gets a vaccine. I'm like, if she gets the shot, the COVID shot. And I told people that, just don't do it. This is what gave me the red flag. When they were censoring viable treatments.
Yes.
Banning viable treatments.
Like ivermectin.
While pushing an experimental thing, that should be a huge red flag for people.
Well, absolutely. But you and our audience still have the ability to think for yourselves. But most people have lost that capability, and that's part of fifth generation warfare. So let me mention a couple of things. All right. So first of all, your website is sarahwestall.com. And then the website for this event, which begins streaming June 29th. And folks, you can register for it at any time. It's at brightu.com. It's at brightu.com, and it's called Mind Control and Fifth Generation Warfare. It's free to watch every episode, but you can optionally purchase the entire course for download with bonus items. And again, you can register now at brightu.com, and it begins streaming June 29th, so mark your calendar for that. But Sarah, tell me, what is, in your view, what is fifth generation warfare?
Okay, I'm going to say this series is over 10 hours of episodes plus mini bonus hours of bonus material. So you're getting a lot of material, and it's still there's so much more you can learn about it. It comes from all different perspectives, but let me give you a high level kind of military background or synopsis. Warfare used to be a narrow targeted agenda to take out your enemy's forces. Now the target is you, me, it's us, it's our body, it's to control us. And in some ways, I have Armin Kirshner, Dr. Armin Kirshner. He's a professor of intelligence, and he teaches intelligence agents, and he teaches military people on fifth generation warfare. It's one of the things he teaches. And he says in a lot of ways, he says the military is obsolete right now. They're bypassing the military and going directly to us, to control us and the people. And the idea is to win without firing a shot, and to control our minds and what we do, what we think, and get us to do what they want so they can take over or implement whatever agenda they're trying to implement. It's kind of scary. Go ahead.
I want to ask you, though, about that agenda, because as my audience knows, I've come to the conclusion that ultimately the long-term agenda of the globalists is the extermination of most of the human population. There are other probably smaller sort of waypoint agendas in order to get there, like banning all combustion engines, shutting down all farms in the name of climate change, convincing everybody to go woke and mutilate their genitalia. Those are like little waypoints.
Yeah.
Right? But what do you see as the long-term agenda?
Well, I think that their utopian world that they're trying to create for themselves is to have a drastically reduced population that they control, of which the people that are left are them, who are enhanced transhumanism, so they have an enhanced ability. The people who are left are put into different tiers based on what they need us for. So the lowest tier will be mentally and physically changed to just do the tasks that they want you to do. It's really dystopian. It's really awful. And they're going to use technology to get to that point.
Okay, so we all know this, right? Right. I ended it at the 15 mark, 15 minutes. So you can click on the link. She has a lot of very important information that for sure needs to be circulated. Okay, so silent weapons for silent wars. Yeah, we got it going. And there's a lot of targeting programs. They're not all the same. And you have to wonder how many people are controlled already. I think a lot. So, economy. After a year in recovery, the economy is once again contracting. Well, recovery is put in quote marks. We haven't had a recovery. It has been going down. It's hanging on by a thread. How? It's artificial. It's manipulated. And when they want to pull the plug, wow, watch out. U.S. housing starts and building permits plunge to COVID lockdown lows. We do not have a good economy. We have a dying economy. America's middle class is shrinking. Don't we know it? Rite Aid to close 27 stores amid the federal bankruptcy case. Rite Aid is going bankrupt. 27 stores. That is in addition to all of the stores that they have closed already. A whole lot of people left without work. More companies announce bankruptcies, shutter operations, citing inflation. Bidenomics. It's been fabulous. And what is this? Nationwide. Nationwide is on your side. Nationwide cites inflation for sudden pet coverage cancellations, escalating cost of veterinary care, and other factors cutting into its profits as the reason for its decision. About 100,000 pets across the country are losing their coverage. The pet insurance is really, that has been a new addition to the insurance industry. I'm sure they made an awful lot of money. If they're canceling 100,000 who have insurance, that means a lot of people signed up, paying, and I never did, so I don't know if it was worth anything. But you want to talk greed? Veterinary care. And forcing all of these animals, not just dogs and cats, to get all of the vaccinations that are making their pets sick, and vets create the revolving door. Yes, we are going to give your pet vaccines, then it gets sick, and then you come back and you pay for more vet care. What a world. Bud Light boycott still hammers local distributors 1 year later. Very upsetting when conservative activists, of course, everything is put in that liberal conservative red-blue framing, Republican, Democrat. I'm so tired of it. But we still have the majority stuck in the matrix. And it works, and they ain't letting go of it. The divide and conquer. So Bud Light really has gone down big time. And we all know why, right? That transgender... I'm not into remembering the names of transgender people, but who came out and did that horrible commercial. A boy, can't say a man because so flippin' immature. Yeah, doing a Bud Light commercial, and boom, a whole lot of people stopped buying Bud Light. Oh, Mulvaney. What was her name? His name. Him, her, whatever. Oh, Dylan. Dylan Mulvaney. Transgender influencer. Sparked a backlash among many conservatives. Look, I'm not a conservative. I'm not, no labels. Nope. Anymore. Left the matrix. So it's like you hear this and you're left out. You're left out of that grouping that they claim are upset. Not that I really care. Louisiana becomes first state to require 10 commandments to be displaced in public school classrooms. So much for separation of church and state. American Bar Association requiring all law schools to push diversity, equity, inclusion, displacing constitutional law. Are you noticing that our country is gone? It's been gone for a very long time. How did it get there? Let me see. Not a whole lot of Americans did anything. Yeah, evil spreads. When a whole lot of good people sit around doing nothing. Warning labels for gas stoves. A lawsuit is trying to make it happen. In California, New York, and Illinois, for the first time, gas critics are going to court to push stove manufacturers to warn customers about the appliance's health impacts. Okay. Gas stoves, my favorite. I never had a problem. Never did it affect my health. It produced good food. Electric stoves suck. Okay. But let's do it. First of its kind lawsuit. The U.S. Public Interest Research Group Education Fund has filed a lawsuit claiming that GE appliances, just GE appliances, failed to notify consumers that normal operation of their stoves could lead to elevated exposure to air pollutants like nitrogen dioxide, which can trigger or exacerbate asthma. Gas stoves can be harmful to our health when used as directed, but this crucial information is not broadly available to the public. Oh my God. And a whole lot of people are going to believe it. Oh, get rid of your gas stoves. You can have respiratory issues. You could have... None of this ever happened before. Right? But now, suddenly... Let's do just a brief counting of how many people are being let go, laid off. And this is dailyjobs.com, dailyjobcuts.com, which I have recommended bookmarking and checking out occasionally. So, for today, university hospitals in Ohio, 300 laid off. Everett, Herald, 12. Excelia Pharmaceuticals, 200. WEX, 375. Education Testing Services. Well, I'm not going to do the percentages. I'm only going to do the numbers. Sound Publishing Newspapers in Washington State, 62. We've had a lot of layoffs in schools. Cargill's former beef plant in Fresno, California, 180 layoffs. Cherokee Nation Federal Consulting, 187. Volkswagen in Chattanooga, over 50 salaried office positions. Got digital education platform, 441 globally. Got State Cloud State University, 54. U.S. broadband firm Cable One, 120. Stellogic, 70. Got Pfizer and Sanford, 200 plus layoffs. Federal Express in Conover, North Carolina, 66. You got Mercury Marine, 252. You have Cargill, 171. The Southern Poverty Law Center, about 60. Meta, to reduce vice president positions from 300 to 250. Boeing, 69. Will Scott of Canada reports 500 to 1,000 layoffs across Canada and the United States. Crypto, Paxos, 65. Virginia Alcoholic Beverage, 25. FedEx, 1,700 to 2,000 back office jobs. Agilent Technologies in California, 184. Crown Castle, 470 plus. Sumo Group, 250. Got a lot. Northrop Grumman, 500 plus in Arizona. Beecher Community Schools, 12. KissFlow, 45 to 50. Oregon Health and Science University, 500 plus. New Res, 317. Bridgestone, Des Moines, Iowa plant, 118. Bristol Myers Squibb, 863 in New Jersey. Bon Appetit, 62. Orcam, 100. And I'm not even reading all of them. John Deere, 650. Barclays, 70 in New Jersey. 88, Frito-Lay potato chip facility, Middletown, New York, 88. Behavior Interactive, 95, mostly in Montreal. Microsoft Azure unit, around 1,000. Amazon warehouse in Stockton, 390. Cigna, 261. That's for just June, and certainly not, the inclusive list. There's a whole lot more. So that's our economy. Where are these people going to be finding jobs? They're not. And that's why the middle class is dying. Major cyber incident paralyzes thousands of U.S. auto dealerships. We're having these cyber incidences just with greater increasing frequency that you gotta wonder about that, the global cyber attack coming. The company supplying software for managing sales and services to thousands of auto dealerships across the U.S. reported yet another cyber disruption on Thursday, disrupting sales of new and used vehicles. CDK Global sent an email to auto dealers informing them of an additional cyber incident late in the evening on June 19th. Out of continued caution and to protect our customers, we are once again, proactively shutting down most of our systems. Aren't you all so happy that we went so digital? 8 signs that extremists are taking over our country. Michael Schneider. It is happening all around us. Our nation is being radically transformed by people with extreme ideologies, and that should deeply alarm all of us. An extremist is a person who holds extreme or fanatical political or religious views, especially one who resorts to or advocates extreme action. Sadly, that definition accurately describes many that hold prominent positions of power in our society today. In so many cases, individuals that have political beliefs that most ordinary Americans would consider to be very radical are going to extraordinary lengths to impose their views on all of the rest of us, and don't we know it? Yes, Sea Angel. Well, a lot of hospitals and a lot of doctors are going, doing the Zooming, which is unbelievable, but so a lot of people are being laid off. In Oregon, a high school track and field coach has been fired simply for expressing his concerns about allowing biological males to compete with girls. A whole lot of people are losing their jobs, suffering the consequences of speaking out, questioning these agendas, the official narrative. That's not a free country. John Parks, who had been employed at Lake Oswego High School since January of last year, says a contract was terminated shortly after he began speaking out against trans-identified males self-identifying into female races. Fire him. Get rid of him. Officials in Seattle have decided that it is perfectly okay to hire migrants that have come into the United States illegally as police officers. Signed into law by far-left Governor Jay Inslee, Democrat, which will allow DACA recipients or so-called dreamers to apply to become police officers. And we don't know, if these dreamers who have been here for years and years and years, and the newer illegal migrants that are coming across the border, if they're actually distinguishing between them. Probably not. So, One issue facing DACA recipients becoming police officers is because they are in the country illegally, which means that they are not generally permitted to carry a firearm. However, Biden's ATF, Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives, has ruled that, quote, it is ATF's position that DACA recipients can possess duty firearms and possess ammunition as part of their official law enforcement officer duties. Illegals getting guns. Oh, that sounds good. Even though reservoirs are overflowing right now, bureaucrats have decided to greatly restrict the flow of water to countless potato farmers in the state of Idaho. Now, I've included that in several lives, so it is the destruction of the farmers. The governor has allowed a Canadian mining company to mine for cobalt in Idaho, giving that company the water that the farmers need. Executives at Disney seem absolutely determined to completely destroy Star Wars. In the newest series, a coven of lesbian space witches has been introduced. So at the center of the drama is episode 3, which aired last week. The segment featured what the LGBTQ publication Them described as a coven of lesbian space witches who appear to use the Force, Star Wars, the Force, to conceive the twins, May and Osha, without any male involvement. Do they not have any imagination? They have to just take a movie decades old and just tweak it for the LGBTQ tweak. They have no imagination to come up with anything original. In Los Angeles, authorities are reportedly toying with the idea of removing police from traffic enforcement altogether. It's a way to reform policing. City Council approved a study aimed at determining how to implement additional speed bumps, roundabouts, and other modifications to streets to curb speeding and improve driving safety. And it would be in place of traffic enforcement. 15-minute city coming. While politicians in Washington endlessly promote war on the other side of the globe to protect Ukraine's sacred borders, vast numbers of people are being allowed to come flooding into the country illegally every single day. Jacumba, California is the entry of choice for Chinese illegals. By November, we may have 200,000 more Chinese men who have crossed our border. What happens when China invades Taiwan? We aren't supposed to question climate science. Yes, okay, we all know. We all know. Many in positions of power get extremely angry when we do. Modern climate change movement has essentially mutated into a religion that basically sees man as a blight upon the earth. And that's it. You cannot question religious beliefs. Their whole worldview is wrong. Their interpretation of the evidence is wrong. And it's going to have very bad consequences for us, don't you think? It already has. At a time when they should be concerned with a myriad of rapidly growing national security threats, the federal agency that oversees the CIA, the FBI, the NSA, is focused on other things this month. Top intelligence agency in the United States is celebrating Pride Month by inviting agents to have the transgender flag painted on their nails participate in a Pride Ally challenge and learn from a non-binary Philippines, I don't know, activist who has taught children about her non-binary identity. The intelligence document outlines 9 different Pride Month activities held by the Office of the Director of National Intelligence, a cabinet-level agency overseeing the rest of the intelligence community, including CIA, FBI, NSA, and intelligence components in each branch of the military. Over the course of the month, intelligence officers will have their nails painted with trans flags, even learn to crochet their very own pride flags. If my grandparents were alive today, not mine, Michael Schneider's, they wouldn't even recognize our country. We now live in a society where up is down, down is up, high is low, low is high. Unfortunately, the control freaks that are running things get quite upset when anyone dares to question why everything has been reversed. You can check out Michael Schneider's latest book. There's a hyperlink here, and I will post the link. The hyperlink is in blue. I have an entire chapter entitled Cultural Transformation, and I think that phrase very accurately describes what has happened to us. Oh, happening more and more, but let's put it in the past tense. Only continuing to happen and cement itself. If you do not want extremists to be running things, the time to speak out is now. Because once they get total control, you won't even be able to do that or much of anything. Don't we know it? Yes. A 14-year-old girl went missing in Indiana. 5 men were arrested for kidnapping her, 3 from Honduras, 2 from Mexico. They were each charged with 2 felonies. They were allegedly taking her to California to meet a man. Found safe in Missouri. And these, wow, listen to this.
Great citizens.
But there's a lot of fear mongering.
There's a lot of fear mongering. Absolutely.
And I think it's kind of remarkable that the polls I look at, the national polls, actually Americans still support immigrants.
Yeah.
They support immigration. It's just that they would like to see a system that actually works and that can keep them safe and secure. And all of us want that. And, I've been working on this issue for 20 years since before I came to Congress, in the streets as an activist.
Let me show you this is one of the reasons that people have these sort of thinking. Here's the 3 cable networks reporting of this. Our banner said, soon Biden announces legal protections for undocumented spouses of U.S. citizens. CNN's banner said, Biden announces new protections for some undocumented spouses. Here was Fox's banner, migrant arrested for raping 13-year-old in New York City.
Yes.
And so I think that's part of the problem, right?
Exactly.
Is that you have
That's
a lot
part
of
the
fear mongering.
Exactly. And that we know.
They call it fear mongering, and they're laughing. They're laughing. They're laughing. 13-year-old girl raped. It's fear-mongering. This is so flippin' disgusting that I really hope these people lose. This one loses. Jay Paul loses her position in Congress. It is absolutely revolting. 14-year-old goes missing in Indiana. Migrants. Here.
JLR investigate.
And this is another incident with illegal migrants.
Reporting from the southern border, U.S.-Mexico border, Cumba, California. I am sick to my stomach, ladies and gentlemen. I'm mad. I'm angry. Whatever side you lean politically, this is not a political issue. This is a national security issue, folks. And 2 people have been taken into custody in Houston, Texas. This was a terrible tragedy, a 12-year-old girl named Jocelyn. And she was found murdered, thrown in a creek. And these 2 individuals, folks, they crossed into the United States illegally. They're from Venezuela, and they've been arrested and charged with her murder. Enough is enough, folks. This is why I'm at the border, ladies and gentlemen. This is exactly why I'm at the border, to cover what has been happening across the southern border, in covering the individuals that have been crossing into the country illegally, over the wall, under the wall, through the wall, around the wall, in the mountains, across the Rio Grande. Thousands upon thousands of people have been crossing in the United States illegally, and we've been warning everybody that these people are coming from countries unvetted. These people are coming from being released from prisons from around the country or around the world, and then released into our country. They're coming from mental institutions. We don't know who these individuals are, and they're roaming the streets. We've covered Lake and Riley, Rachel Marin, Lisbeth Medina, and now we have another one. It is so sad. I feel very, very bad for Jocelyn's family. We're going to cover this case. These 2 individuals, they are, and they have names here. I'm going to share their names because they've been arrested, taken in custody. They're from Venezuela. One is 21 and the other is 26. 21-year-old Johan Jose Rangel Martinez and 26-year-old Franklin Jose Pena.
It's fear-mongering. And they laugh. They laugh. They laugh. How utterly repulsive these people are. Disgusting. All right. This is another undercover video. Biden's State Department official is recorded claiming the Great Replacement is real. They want to change the demographics of the United States. If you can't understand what he is saying, read the subtitles down here.
There's got to be some things that you're like, man, I wish I could tell the world about this.
Oh, there's a lot of things, but mostly with immigration. I wish people knew that we're letting in criminals daily.
The big issue for the Hill, for our region, is migration. So we poured a lot of money into Central America.
Like how much?
$4 billion over 4 years. But now migrants are coming from elsewhere, like Venezuela.
Somos de nacionalidad venezolana. Tenemos vuelo para Nueva York.
Entonces, ¿le compraste un vuelo con Spirit?
Sí.
40.
Sí, entramos con la cita de CBP One por el puente fronterizo.
So what is the end goal? Why are they allowing?
All right, so she gets from Venezuela an airline ticket for $40 for Spirit Airlines. Do you think Spirit is just allowing these people to fly for $40? No. Taxpayers make up an awful lot of that, the purchase of this airline ticket. And I myself and others have said these people are not just walking across the border, they're being flown in to our country. Flown in. It is deliberate. Okay. Well, enjoy the ride. That's all I can say. It's going to be a scary ride, but hey.
Truly, we want to change the demographics of the United States.
So our aid goes to female prisons in Mexico. Some of them, yeah. To help train them up.
I'm working with gender issues in Pakistan, so we're trying to recruit retain and advance more women in law enforcement. The question becomes, should we be spending U.S. taxpayers' money in our country on this issue when it's that they don't seem to care about?
Secretary Blinken, how close are you to him? 5 degrees separation. This is such a niche industry that flies under the radar. Yeah, the average American does not know. Those people don't know what we do.
Well, Mr. Chairman, thank you very much to you, Ranking Member Risch, all the members of the committee, and thank you for the opportunity to testify today.
He has briefings coming up in 2 weeks. He has briefings? Yeah, on the Hill about the FY 2025 budget request. And that's like with all the congressional people. Big issue for the Hill, for our region, is migration. Oh my. Stop migration. What are we doing to stop migration? He's not accountable for that, is he? Yeah, we do stuff for it. Oh, do you? Yeah. Oh, I didn't realize that. It's called the root causes strategy. Ooh, it's giving money to support and help people at where the origins of the migrants are, so they feel like they can stay there instead of migrating out. So it's such a
to give American taxpayer money to people apparently all over the world, right? All over the world, because they're coming from all over the world. And that's how we're stopping it, by addressing the root causes of migration. How about the U.S. government stop toppling their governments, stop stealing their resources, stop imposing sanctions on these countries? No. That's bullshit. U.S. strategy for addressing root causes, it is bullshit. And we all know that.
Basically. It's what? It's basically Central America, like support and development. Oh. So we poured a lot of money into Central America. Like how much? $4 billion over 4 years. Wow. It's like a lot of money for those places. It's a lot of money.
And what did it do? So we poured $4 billion into Central America. What did it do when you see all of these migrants coming from Central America? Military-aged men, mostly.
Is it doing anything? I think for them, yes, but now migrants are coming from elsewhere. Right. Like Venezuela, so we're like, oh, this would solve that problem. Oh, no. So what does he say to that? That looks bad for the administration, doesn't it? Yeah. Oh, it looks bad for any administration. Because no one self-migrates. It's like the end-all be-all, like kill pill for politics. Right. And I feel like if anything, the other side's going to win because of it. I know. My dad used to complain about that. I'm like, oh, and like in my mind, I'm like, oh, that's not that much. And then I see the chart, I'm like, oh, that's a lot. Like compared to like 20 years ago. I was like, oh, wait, they're on to something. And I don't know what to say to that. I really don't. I literally don't know. Like, what would the administration say to that? I don't know. And like I sit there too, and I talk with my coworker who like manages the migration for the systems, and we always talk every time. We're like, I don't know what we do. Like, there's no clear answer.
Do they do things within the Foreign Affairs Department that people have like this money going to these women? I mean, there's got to be some things that you're like, man, I wish I could tell the world about this.
Oh, there's a lot of things, but mostly with immigration, because that's the one that where the left is really good for immigration. I wish people knew that we're letting in criminals daily. Like when I was in,
you have confirmation of that. You have confirmation.
Oh yeah. So all the good, honest, hardworking Mexicans stay in Mexico, and all the pieces of garbage come to the United States, and those are the ones that we lend. We are literally, and the Mexican government has no reason to stop it because their garbage goes to another country and sends money back to them. Like imagine if the worst of the worst, if all the criminals in the United States were all going to Canada and sending back billions of dollars a year. Why would you stop that? I wouldn't even change the numbers of like if we let in 100,000 Mexicans a year. I'm like, let in 100,000 Mexicans a year. Just change the quality of the applicant. Make the say 100,000 Mexicans, but you can't have been in the U.S. illegally and you can't have a criminal record.
So what is the end goal? Why are they allowing it?
Truly, they want to change the demographics of the United States. They really do. Because I mean, no, honestly, the people from Nebraska, like my family's like Americans that have. My family's been in the United States for 400 years. Traditional standard Americans are not leftists. Latin Americans all leftists. And it's just, it literally is. It's just to try to change that demographics.
Trying to change the demographics. Well, I guess it's buffering. I do apologize, but the link is in the chat. Circulate, circulate, circulate. Very, very important. I'll just play out this one. This is in Massachusetts, Migrant Hotel.
What's up, guys? This is Savannah Hernandez, and I have stumbled upon one of the hotels that is being used to shelter migrants here in Massachusetts. Now, I've been wanting to cover the Boston migrant crisis, and one of the things that was interesting about it was the fact that the migrants are not very apparent in Boston. You're not going to see them on the street like you would in New York, and I realized that's because they are busing a lot of these migrants or transporting them throughout various cities and towns in Massachusetts. So, for example, we're in Dedham right now, which is about 30 minutes outside of Boston. Again, you guys can see this hotel. It was a former Fairfield Inn, and it is now being used to house migrants. And I was doing some research as well into how much these hotel rooms are going for. And they're going for $5,400 per month. So these migrants staying here, $5,400 per month, taxpayers paying upwards of or almost $9 million to house migrants in this location. I was even reading some reviews online about how people had booked at this hotel and then their reservations were just canceled, and they were told it's because migrants are now being housed here. And as you guys can see, there is quite a few of them out here kind of just hanging out. A couple of them have cars. $5,400 for these rooms. We talked to some of them, and they were saying that the rooms are small, they're not getting enough bedding, they're not getting enough resources, they don't like the food. So this is one example of what's happening here in Massachusetts. Norfolk, another good example of how these migrants that you might see at the Logan Airport are being shipped throughout the state. So in Norfolk, that's a town of a little over 11,000 people, and they have 450 migrants coming their way. So again, that's how they're kind of keeping this crisis a little bit more under wraps, as opposed to what you might see in New York, where the migrants are all sleeping on the street. They're busing them to all of these other little areas.
Wow, these hotels off the American taxpayers' back are making a whole lot of money. $5,400 a month for a room. Okay. Schmucks. Yeah. I mean, when you hear this kind of stuff going on year after year, everything getting worse and worse, and there's an awful lot of people who really, yeah. All right, well, it's going to be a nasty ride. I hope you all stay safe in it. Carol, please read. I have one of the immigrants living in my building where I live. What he does all day is yell in the phone. Doesn't work at all. And Curious Squirrel. They fly them into military bases too. I've seen the planes coming into Fort Drum, New York, and watch the buses leaving the base's airport. Rarely see a white face in Watertown now. Watertown, New York? Long Island? No. Watertown. There's a Watertown in, I believe, in the Hamptons. I would think there's got to be a Watertown upstate or something. So yeah, okay, well, help one another, live honestly, speak honestly, establish yourself as a trustworthy human being. That is the only solution to this madness. Unfortunately, we need the individuals in the aggregate to be doing that work fast. Unfortunately, it takes a long time. So, whole lot are left on our own, and you can kiss goodbye. Sorry to say, you can kiss goodbye. Surviving any of this madness on your own. You need a strong community working together, and that takes a community that has a foundation of trust. I haven't come across one yet. But who knows? People say miracles